Modular Medical has created the next generation insulin pump. And with me is the CEO, Jeff Besser, to explain this. So you received clearance for this pump on September 4th. Remind us why you think there's an opportunity here for this and how this could really kind of change the insulin pump market.
Well, we think there's a great opportunity because even though pumps were introduced 30 years ago, there is still 80% of the people who should be wearing a pump or could benefit from wearing a pump who still aren't doing so. And we think that's because the current pumps are very complex, very costly, and very cumbersome, or some combination of those three things. And so our pump is a simpler, easy to learn pump that offers all of the accuracy of the other products, but is something that you can learn to use in less than 30 minutes and manage in less than 10. And
I remember we were talking about how difficult it is to kind of learn. A lot of people kind of give up or it's inaccurate, but this really makes this all much user-friendly.
Yeah, I think the insurance companies are just very afraid that to get you to go on a pump might lead to them buying you a pump and then you not using it. And then they've lost both ways, right? Because they've bought you something expensive and they're not getting the benefit, because the benefit is tremendous. An insurer will save, according to one study, $10,000 per patient year by getting you to wear a pump, including a $5,000 placeholder for a pump.
Yeah, your pump will save the insurance companies that much.
Any insulin pump, because any insulin pump will offer you that same benefit of 50% of your insulin in a slow basal drip, and just by giving you the ability to bolus around meals by pushing a button rather than excusing yourself and stabbing yourself with a pen or a syringe, you're going to do it more frequently, which is going to keep you closer to baseline, which is going to lead to better outcome.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from people who've used this?
So when we got cleared, we weren't allowed to actually trial it pumping insulin on a human being, but we've showed it to lots of people in the space, lots of diabetes educators and endocrinologists, and we were just at the ADEPT conference in Chicago a couple weeks ago that the ADA put on for underserved communities in this space, and the feedback was very, very positive. I think people understand what kind of patients they would put this on, and they also know that there is a huge group of patients that are still seen not by a specialist but by their primary care physician, and that number is actually growing because the number of endocrinologists is shrinking while the number of people with diabetes is growing. And so almost no primary care physician will write one of the current pumps, but we think there's a very good chance they'll write ours.
So what has to happen then for this to be commercially available?
So we're just qualifying the line in Mexico right now to sell commercial product into the U.S., and that process will be finished in the first half of 2025.
Okay, and you just announced some interesting, I guess, results in the GLP-1 market?
Yeah, I think, look, clearly if you can tolerate a weekly or a bi-weekly or a monthly shot, and Ozempic or Mounjaro or one of the other products in that space right now, you're not going to wear a pump. However, we know from the Blue Cross Blue Shield data that came out in June that 35% of people who go on a weekly GLP-1 stop within 4 weeks and 50% stop within 12 weeks. And so that's some combination of cost and tolerability issues. And so with a pump, you could turn it off. And so what we found in our proof of concept study was that you could use 40% less of a older rapid acting GLP-1, and then by adding a single bolus with a meal, you could get the same weight loss effect and the same glycemic control as you could with the 40% higher continuous dose.
Interesting.
And so that should enable us to get around some of those issues potentially with the right partner and the right drug. But or you could also use it to titrate up more quickly if you were trying to find the right dose for you, because the right dose for you might turn out to be between two of the fixed doses on a weekly shot. One's too high and one's too low.
Okay, and what about valuations of some of the new insulin pumps? What can you share about the valuations of these companies that are behind these?
So, obviously we think our valuation's fairly depressed, even though we're cleared now. I mean, I clearly think that. I just bought 100,000 shares on November 27th in the open market
Insider
myself.
buying.
And there was another company in the space which announced in August that they had 10,000 customers, Beta Bionics, and they which has a hardware platform that's a lot more like the Medtronic platform than ours, but has an easy-to-use algorithm on top of it. And they just raised $60 million a few weeks ago at a $500 million pre. So I think I think there are some attractive valuations in the space right now.
Well, and it sounds like kind of like investors are just starting to learn about this and look at the companies and the evaluation.
I think that there's a lot more interest in the space, and why wouldn't there be with this many people? You know, almost 4 million people who need who could benefit from wearing an insulin pump. So I think there's plenty of room for new players here.
Okay. Jeb, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.